Hey guys, welcome back to episode 3 of the Problem Solve podcast. Today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Aaron Hook from Greyburn Building. Greyburn Building is a local Gold Coast commercial construction company and they do projects throughout southeast Queensland. So we're working with Aaron on a few projects at the moment and just fortunate enough for you to be with us today, mate. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me in, Matt. Great to see you on a Friday morning.
Yeah, it's good. Mate, so maybe start with a bit about Greyburn Building and what you guys have at the moment, what you guys are working on.
So we're based in the Gold Coast. We also do jobs up in Brisbane. At the moment, we've got probably 5 or 6 projects running, 4 or 5 on the Gold Coast, and then 1 up in Brisbane. We're just pricing another one up in Brisbane at the moment. That tender went in yesterday. So, we like to keep things small and niche. We do a lot of residential apartments at the moment, residential apartments and townhouses. So that's where our teams have got a lot of experience. Our subcontractors have got a lot of experience, and it's something that we know really well, and we're just focusing on it. And we're not looking at getting too much more work. We just want to keep the existing teams we have rolling from one good project to the next.
Yep.
And that's sort of how we're looking at it and how we're approaching it at the moment.
That's good. Well, I've got a lot of questions about the business setup and how you're mitigating your risks. So I'm actually looking forward to picking your brains on a few things. One of the key things also is maybe just touch on how you've come into Greyburn and I suppose your journey to get to where you are in your career.
Sure. So I've been in the construction industry on the Gold Coast and southeast Queensland for 20 years. 20 years this year, actually. Spent 5 years originally on the consultant side with Ryder Hunt. It's Ryder Lever Bucknell now, as a QS in their Gold Coast office. And what was nice then, with a small office, you get a lot of diversity. You work on a lot of different projects. Remember doing bank drawdowns and for the bank inspections for sort of Q1 and Circle and Cavill and all those bigger projects in the sort of mid 2005 to 2008. So it was good to see that stuff. And then I knew I wanted to go building. My grandfather owned plumbing companies back in Africa, so I wanted to go building.
Yep.
And so transitioned into the building side of things. Firstly, as an estimator, just with a QS background, that made sense. And fast from there, sort of got into the work procurement, sort of the sales side with the estimating side, into commercial management role. And then from there, you win the work, you make the promises to the clients.
And you got to deliver it.
Then you got to deliver it. And often you hand over to construction teams. That process sometimes doesn't go so smoothly. And if a project went off track, then I'd often get involved to try and help bring it to a close and to finish it off with that the first intentions that you started the project with. So I suppose I've been building for 15 years now. John Carney, my business partner, he's sort of he bought Greyburn maybe 10 years ago, and I came on board with John almost 4 years ago. And it's been great. Yeah, so.
It's a good balance because John's got the development side of things, and you've come in with the construction. That's how I sort of see it from the outside. You guys complement each other quite well.
Yep. So John traditionally did a lot of townhouses and a few multi-res, but I think from his point of view, a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, he saw that land was running out. The number of townhouse sites was sort of dropping a little bit. So he wanted to get into the multi-res space with his own developments and with building. So, we'd known each other for maybe 10 years before that. So, we sort of caught up and sort of went from there.
Yeah, perfect.
Came on board as a director with John. So, yeah.
So it's a pretty powerful journey you've had. There's a couple of things in common. When I started in the industry, I was always told that QS background was so vital and important. And I know when I worked for sort of Gordon McAllister and Ian Pert at GMP, I wasn't allowed to be a project manager until I became a QS. So that sort of foundational knowledge and you working in that QS firm in the early days, I think was probably paramount to giving you the foundation to have the career that you had, by the sounds of it.
I think so. I think if you get the pricing of a project right and if the numbers, if everything adds up from a numbers perspective, it generally most things go smoother from there.
It flows on, so your program and all your quality,
Correct,
it does start with that initial pricing and understanding how the project comes back to ties into each other. So, I mean, what was the main driver? So the way you guys have set the business up at the moment is Greyburn's got some of their own projects, and then you've also got your own clients that you build for at the moment. Is that the current setup?
That is the setup. Yeah.
Yep.
So John Carter, my business partner, he's got Immerse Projects, which is his development arm.
Yep.
And he's got a number of developments that he's completed the last couple of years. He's got a few more in the pipeline. So yes, the building company builds those developments, but at the same time, we've also got sort of 60% of our 70% of our work that's for other clients as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And just talking to you outside of the podcast, there was a couple of key lessons that, or I suppose learnings that you had throughout your journey that have enabled you to set up the new building arm with Greyburn Building. And you guys do a few things differently. Right? What I've observed is you're very clear on what projects you take on and what you don't take on. Your hiring and resourcing is you're happy with a certain number of resources within the business. Do you maybe want to touch on, how you sort of see things from what sort of risk mitigation have you put into the Greyburn Building that maybe stands apart from other builders?
Look, I think Greyburn, like if you look at it from a staffing perspective, we're a fairly small company with 40 to 50 staff, somewhere around there. So we're not one of a big commercial builder. We're a small commercial builder. We have got very good staff, very good people that know what they're doing. And where did they come from? I suppose they came from the 20 years in the industry. I did spend 10 years with another very successful commercial builder. And through that process, I learned a lot of things. At that builder, we sort of ran between 20 and 25 projects at a time. And we sort of had up to 140 staff. And we did jobs from anywhere between 2 million and sort of 50 million a couple of years ago. And you did residential, townhouses, schools, car dealerships, tilt panels, service stations. We did everything. And look, it was a great learning experience, but I think there was never a time where all 25 projects were going well.
Yeah.
There's always the one or two that are going really, really well, like perfectly, basically. Then you've got one or two that are going really, really, really badly, which take a lot of your time.
Yep.
And then you've got all the others that just go okay. Yep. And what I found is within building's not easy. Like if there's a team that learns how to do resi, they will be very good residential builders for a certain, they might be townhouse resi, they might be up to 10-story resi, or they might be over 10-story resi. But they're all very different ways of doing things. And
they become set in what they...
and they learn lessons, and the teams learn how to, I suppose, take learnings from job to job. And if you just keep them in a very similar sort of field, they get really good at what they do. And if they have the ability to stay together and to bring the subcontractors that they work with from job to job to job, you take a lot of the risk and the unknown out of the building process. So yes, you've got a different project, but it's around similar parameters, similar team running the job, similar team of subcontractors building it together. And you're not throwing a whole lot of different people together trying to build a project every time. So, yeah, that's. I suppose that's what we've done.
Yeah, I mean, because one of the biggest risks I see for builders in the market at the moment is that churn of staff, and we're seeing it on a lot of projects where the builders are winning projects, right, and then getting the staff. And what you're doing is you're getting a mix of people that have never worked together before in charge of a 40, 50, 60, $70 million project. Like, there's inherent risk in that because no one's worked together and they've all got different subcontractor relationships, right? So that they might be bringing in different teams or teams for the first time on the project. And then exactly what you've said, I've noticed you guys have very good trade relationships. Your subcontractors go from project to project with you, still with competitive pricing from what I've observed when you've priced projects for us. And then your team, the guys on your team have been together for a very, very long time. So do you see that as a risk mitigation?
It is it's a risk mitigation, but it also brings enjoyment to the build process.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the teams we encourage the staff to sort of have interests outside of work. We also, most of our building projects are anywhere between 15 and 50 mil, and that allows for project teams to be sort of 3 to 7 people on site. And when those people are like a unit, they end up they all have a less stressful lifestyle in the building industry because they all sort of stick together. Some can start late if they might be cyclists or whatever they're doing. The others can maybe finish early if they want to coach their kids footy on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So they end up covering for each other, and they end up having a really good work-life balance.
Yeah, right.
So, that's sort of, there's nothing better than a building project that's going really well.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun, it's enjoyable.
There's nothing worse than it going the other way.
Yeah, exactly. And I've lived the other way several times in several circumstances, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's a grind. It's hard. Sometimes you've got members of the same team who they're really good guys, so they just don't see eye to eye.
Yeah.
And they just can't wait to finish that job. They still stay with the company, but they don't like seeing each other every day.
Yep.
So that's quite interesting. But it happens, it happens, and it doesn't happen where we are now, but it has happened.
It happened
before,
yeah.
And it makes going to work for those guys just
so much
interesting.
harder.
Yeah, but it's nice when those people sort of look past those differences and look at the end goal of just finishing a project. Yeah. So
so what essentially you guys have done is you set up teams within the business, and those teams manage. They go from project to project. So so you're not basically swapping and changing contract administrators, site managers, and project managers. Those teams are staying together and basically going from one project to the other. And all those lessons learned and all the, I suppose, familiarities or synchronicities of how they work together are then just being rolled on from one project to the other. So you are getting this momentum, and just the lesson learned aspect of it, after just of those teams being together for so long is, I'm sure there's some massive efficiencies that you've seen in running the business.
Yes, definitely. And the sort of 4 or 5 teams we've got now, they would have been working together, some of them for 10 years.
Yeah.
So they were where I was before, and they just know each other well. They sort of cover each other's gaps, if you like, to say it like that. So, and then they've got similar interests to each other, and they're enjoying the building process. So.
One of the key aspects, and you mentioned it off the podcast to me in other conversations, but you identified early on in your career that managing staff within a construction industry, you mentioned to me that, it's very rarely you have someone who's knowledgeable across all areas. And most individuals are really, really strong in certain areas. And I don't know if you can maybe share, but your philosophy on how you put teams together and how you structure your internal teams based on everyone's strengths.
Sure, it is. Like, I mean, two of our project managers come from a site management background. So they're obviously very strong on the building side, maybe a little bit weaker on the administration. And, if there's an adjudication or something, that they're not the guys that are going to pull together the adjudication claim. But we team them up with a senior contracts manager. So not a contracts administrator, a more experienced, who sometimes are project managers in their own right, but we call them a contracts manager, and they work well with a site-based PM. So you've got your administration side covered, and you've got your building side covered. And then as I take a fairly hands-on role with the design management, the contract side, and then visiting the sites once they start. But I'm also aware of the PMs that aren't going to be able to put together an adjudication claim or sort out something like that. So I know that if something's coming, I need to be available to go and do it. And let them keep building, because that's where their strength is. Similarly, 2 of our PMs are from the administration side. So there we team them up with a really experienced site manager. so that the site management, the building side is really covered, and they're fine to handle an adjudication or any sort of legal thing.
Yep.
They could handle that. So then, it's just different ways of doing things. And some of our PMs are sort of people. They just get through the problems by getting a team of people around them, and it works. And others are very detail oriented and get into the detail and work it that way. And I think it's realizing that no one's perfect, myself included. Like, all of us have got our shortfalls, and it's about not focusing on what people do wrong, but focus on what they do right, focus on, and then just cover where they might have a slight weakness.
Shortfall,
You don't need to point it out. You just got to cover the ground as one of the team with them, I suppose.
Yeah, and what I like about that is that's a different take on leadership as well.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're really promoting the strengths of people and understanding where they need support. Mm-hmm. And the key that I think in that scenario too, mate, is that that's the best way if someone has a shortfall in an area to be paired with someone who excels.
Yeah.
Right. So, let's just take that contract administrator who's very, very good contractually, but might need a bit of upskilling in construction methodology or what's happening on site, to be paired with that guy who's been a site manager for 30 years or is at the top of his game. The knowledge sharing between that, there's no better way. You can't do a TAFE course or a university course to fill that gap. That's the best way to fill that gap. So I know that was just a learning from our conversations outside of this for me to go, wow, that's a different way to look at it.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's the team side of things, and I really enjoy every single person that works with us. And that goes down to our subcontractors as well. So great. A lot of our subbies have been on the Gold Coast for 20 plus years. They've seen the cycles. They've probably been in their, call it early 30s, where they want to grow a massive business, and then got to their mid 40s and gone, we don't want a big business. We just want 15 guys that we trust and we want to have a good time on the weekends. So it's it's interesting seeing that's who a lot of our subcontractors are. So just great Gold Coast guys and Brisbane guys.
Good
just
local
enjoy
businesses.
building and they enjoy their business. And it's interesting that you see that there is a bit of an aging demographic, and we see it within our teams and within the subbies. A lot of your really good subbies that have been around 25, 30 years are sort of hitting that 55 to 65 range. And you see some of them having succession planning and bringing some people, call it the 35 to 45, bringing them through. So we've sort of got a deliberate approach to sort of, we've got a few people in that age group coming through.
Yep.
And just for that knowledge to be passed down from the 60-year-olds to the 35 to 40s, we see that as an important thing. And just I'm 40, early 40s, so I've got 20 years to go. So it'd be good to just keep that knowledge base going. Yeah. So.
Have you observed? Something I've observed is that there is a little bit of a knowledge gap in the industry from what I can see. During COVID or post-COVID, when things sort of skyrocketed, I felt that there was a lot of resources went out of the industry, and a lot of really experienced operators. So I did feel there was a bit of a knowledge vacuum, and it certainly changed our role and my role on a few of our projects because we were sort of filling that in some respects. So is that something you've observed, and are you concerned about that?
I wouldn't say I'm concerned about it. We're small enough not to, it's just an observation.
Yeah.
It's just an observation and something that you want to pay it forward. And there's some guys that are approaching 60 or early 60s who are such good builders, and you just want some of their experience just to be filtered down to the guys of 35 to 45.
Yeah.
And because, like I said, building can be a really enjoyable industry. So,
and I think one of the key things I wanted to touch on today with you as well was what you will build and what you won't build, because I think that's a part of the enjoyment too. Because you guys you're very strict as to what you'll take on and what you won't.
Yeah,
and I think that's a key element for construction businesses to grasp.
Correct. So there's nothing worse than when a project falls behind and you're under time pressure, and you got these prelims and this team and something's stalling the job, and then all of a sudden that thing arrives and gets delivered, and now all of a sudden all the other follow-on trades, or you're just under pressure till the end. So we generally like building generally projects, 8 to 10 stories and below, or townhouses and things like that. We just feel that, anything, 11 to 20 is just a different set of subbies, a different set of construction methodologies. You're generally on a very restricted site. So it's a different skill set. And we sort of just we've just decided to stay on the smaller stuff.
Yep. You like your rectangles?
That said, we are developing a team that can do the 11 to 20.
Yep.
Purely because John on the Immerse side is looking at a few projects in that space. But yeah, the existing teams we've got have just got so much practice and so much experience doing the under 10 and a bit of space. That's what we like looking for. We're on a big enough company to do a lot of our research and development, or go and try and do new things. We're happy to just do what we've always done, or copy what someone else has gone and done before us.
And that's lessons learned, right?
Yeah, it is. It's just, a building can be hard enough doing the same thing over and over again, never mind trying to reinvent something. Yeah. So, we just stay on the cusp of what has been done before, and just kept on that way. I'm not saying that innovation is not important. Obviously it is. There's AI, there's robotics, there's all those sort of things. We just figure that at the moment there's other companies that are doing that, and other countries. There's other countries that are developing that stuff, and when we see it on the ground here on the Gold Coast or Brisbane getting built by other people, and it gets built well, and everyone's figured out how it works, then we'll do it. Yeah. So
it's almost like measured innovation.
Yeah, someone else is doing it, we'll copy it later. if the need comes and when it comes.
Yeah. And I like your rule of thumb that it's got to be square or rectangle.
Yeah, there's a lot of really nice designs that have happened the last 5 years. I mean, seeing what some companies are delivering out there, it's inspirational. It's inspirational to see what they're doing. But again, that's their niche. That's what they've got good at. That's their network of subbies and site managers and project teams building the bespoke.
Yep.
So yeah, all credit to them. We just for us, it's probably a little bit different.
Well, you just understood your niche, and you've understood what works, and you've just doubled down into it.
Yeah.
So it's and the other side of that is the performance on the site. So particularly on the projects that we're working with you on, you guys are performing. You're getting through it because what you do does work. So the proof's in the pudding, so to speak.
Yeah.
What would you see as the biggest? What's the biggest risk at the moment, or challenge in the industry or within your business?
I wouldn't say it's challenge. It's just awareness. It's just we always with our live construction jobs. What I'm always looking at is what does it look like on site in 2 months' time. What does it look like on site in 3 months' time, and sort of tackling those problems before they come.
Yeah.
So that when you're there, it's already been thought about. You're not arriving there and you haven't got something worked out. You want to have it worked out in advance. So that's with our live construction jobs. And then with the design and getting to a set of construction drawings, I take a very hands-on approach with that with all the jobs. And there we just support the consultants, help them through the process of getting to construction drawings. Yep. And then ideally when we start on site, our site managers and everyone are looking at a set of drawings that all our little lessons learned, the way we like to build, are already shown on the plans.
Yeah, so you're imparting the way you want to build it to the consultants before the IFC drawings are...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, I know you guys did that on the Marine Parade project.
Yes. Yeah, we do that on all our... So our preferred approach is obviously an ECI. So we get involved sometimes prior to the developer even building the site or finishing their DA. We'll give some advice then, and then we'll come on board post-DA and work as another consultant at the table with the consultant team and help them through the process and get to a set of IFC drawings. And then we just do construct only from there. So,
yeah. And are you getting subcontractor input at that point in time or fed through to the consultant team?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we've got certain partition systems our two main subbies like using, so we give those up front, and the architects put those on the plans, and we work and make sure the fire pumps and fire systems all work properly. So yeah, we do bring that in early.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. And in terms of next steps for Greyburn Building?
Just to keep enjoying building.
Yeah.
You know, to keep enjoying building, for the teams to keep enjoying doing things the way they're doing things. And yeah, not just to enjoy the process, enjoy Southeast Queensland. You know, everyone wants to come and live here. We already live here. So I suppose not spending all our life working, to spend life, 35 to 40 hours a week working, and then the rest of the time enjoying it.
Yeah, so, and bringing that into the culture of the business.
Yeah, and having some fun with the people you work with, and all that sort of thing. So that's it. So
perfect, mate.
And then our preference as well is construct only. So ECI, then construct only, and we sort of typically we like to see like a fair distribution of risk. Like as a builder, we should be accountable for building the project, and also whatever we have an influence on, we need to be responsible for. But we don't really have an influence on a number of things. We don't have an influence on the weather. Is it going to rain 20 days this year? Is it going to rain 40? We're not sure. No one's sure. So we sort of structure things in a way that's fair. And I think with all the clients we've sat down and worked through a contractual procedure with, and got to the end of a job and finished projects with, they've all seen that it's done fairly. So everything, we like to have a fair approach, and we believe we've delivered that, recently with all our clients. So we're happy for any new clients to phone our last, 6, 7, 8 jobs, whatever jobs we finished the last 3 years. They can phone all the clients and have a chat with them, and I think they'll find a similar sort of feedback, that we like working with clients and enjoying the process.
So my observation on that, so obviously we came in late in the piece on that Marine Parade project, and that contract had been apportioned fairly, as we sort of took over and read the conditions. But I think it's important to note that the items that you maybe weren't responsible for in the contract, there was still a collaborative approach. So you guys were still at the table with the consultants, with us working through it. So, I think that's a massive cultural, tick in the box when we're working with the builder, is that collaboration. So, you always want to put that contract in the drawer and never look at it again. And it's very clear who's responsible for what. But like I said in my team, even if we're not responsible for it, we should still go and help the builder, because maybe there's a phone call, a contact. There's still some value we can add to the solution. Or getting to the solution, and vice versa. Like if we're going to do that with the builder, then we want to make sure the builder's doing it with us on the other end. So I think our experience has been that you guys are definitely open to that. And again, it comes back to that enjoyment factor. The job becomes a lot more easier when everyone's working together. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, we get our head around the DA, all the OPWs, all the council conditions. So we're also very familiar with obviously the sales renders, making sure that, where developers gone and sold pictures to people, that we
build it.
we're checking that those pictures are what's actually on the plans, and we want to give people, those end purchasers who have, paying a lot of money for apartments and townhouses at the moment, they're moving into places that they're proud to own, that are built well, and that are a true, what they get is what they were sold. So we definitely take that proactive approach with that whole process through the ECI and into the build.
And I think if that proactive approach, that collaboration, I mean, what gets missed in our industry, and particularly when things get tough, is that, there is one client. So we're all trying to hit those expectations and deliverables for that one client. The best way to do that is to do it together. And when you start segmenting it, or it becomes conflict, there's a lot of conflicts, very, very hard. It's very, very hard to hit that expectation for that client. So, I think it's
and on that point, we're a strong company for face to face. So we have a lot of design. We insist on like fortnightly meetings and monthly PCGs. A lot of face to face stuff in the design phase. It's a lot of face to face design meetings. Even if there's a problem, like if one of our subbies has a problem with resource in that, I go to the office and go and see them face to face, trying to understand what their problem is, see if we can fix it. But I suppose firing off a whole lot of emails, never gets things resolved that quickly. So
never.
So we just jump in the car and
go
and see people and try and find out how we can get to the best outcome as quick as possible.
Sometimes the simple ways and the old school ways are the best ways to resolve things.
Yeah. So
perfect. Well, mate, I appreciate your time today.
yeah,
thank
thanks,
you.
Matt.
Thank you for giving us. Yeah.
As well.
It's a great insight into the workings of your business, and I definitely think that there's a lot of lessons. I can see there's a lot of lessons learned from your journey that are now implemented into Greyburn Building, and it's working. It's working well.
Yeah, one of our strong aspects as well, I'll just touch on quickly, is our back of house. So back of house, between John and our general manager, Nash, also ex-chartered accountant, KPMG, all that sort of stuff. Just the back of house, financial management and cash flow management and forecasts, and just doing everything right back of house. All our projects are trust account projects, all set up, and just knowing that cash flow for a builder is so important, and managing it properly is really a builder's responsibility to all his staff and his subcontractors and his clients. And obviously since COVID, it was a tough period, very tough period.
Yep.
But I think a lot of builders probably didn't manage that.
Cash flow was.
Yeah, I think they all just won jobs that were too big and too many jobs, and got excited by we've got another job. But it's just for me, all the builders that went down were just doing too many projects, getting caught up winning the jobs, and then getting stuck trying to deliver them.
With massive escalation.
Massive escalation. But I think all of them just took on too much work as well. Everyone got excited and stars in their eyes and just won too much work. And a lot of them came unstuck. And it's sad because, a lot of them were good builders. But I think that's probably my one lesson, is just stay in our lane.
Yeah.
And because it seems like most builders that go out of their lane, they soon come unstuck a little bit. So,
well, just on that financial management, I think Nash is, he's very across each project from what I can see.
Yeah.
And he's got an in-depth understanding of the cash flow for each job. So from a financial management point of view, that's, I think that's critical.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's great.
Awesome.
I think that's it.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for chatting.
Great way. Yeah,
Perfect.
Came out well. So thanks.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.